Capricorn. Welcome to your March 2022 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. Oops. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. The heart of the matter is the Five of Cups. This is a card of mourning the loss of something. But as you may have heard tarot readers say, the person has turned their backs on two upright cups. So it's like crying over spilled milk, but there's still some milk in those goblets behind that person. So it can really be a sort of pessimism where it's like there's a loss, but there's also a gain at the same time. But you're focused on the loss. And when I look at the past position and I see that the World card is here, it's obvious that this is a chapter closing. And so an example would be that if you had hoped to, let's say you're in your 60s and you had hoped to work someplace until you're 68 years old and you feel like you got forced out at 63 or 64, but you're given a pension and you have all this free time, but you can only focus on, but this didn't happen and my plans weren't what I wanted. And the reason that this is problematic is that it's not seeing that the universe has your back. It's feeling like things are out of control and you're not getting what you want, but there's something really good happening here. Same thing with a divorce. You know, the World card could be a long-term relationship ending. Something, or even it doesn't have to be like 20 years, but a relationship ending that you thought was going to last forever. And it doesn't. But there is something good here. And when I look at the higher message, you can see exactly what that can be. The Sun card is arguably the most positive card in the deck, and it speaks to love, creativity, children, abundance, healing, and things like that. You know, just everything you can imagine. I want to put these, for some reason, it just feels like it's too far that way. And so it can feel this sense of, oh, this relationship ended and you're so focused on that. And then if you're really in those quiet moments, think about it and say, well, yeah, we were having a lot of problems. And yeah, maybe I would have ended up being the one who pulled the plug. And so the more you think about it, the more you think, hey, maybe this was meant to be. But in the moment, you can feel like everything has been lost. The Sun card is also great because it speaks about this idea of, that this. I'm thinking about that musical Annie. The sun will come out tomorrow. Is that things may feel like it's this ending, almost like going downhill or something like that, and the sun will come out. If you're going through this rough patch, the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar. And if you can maintain or hold on to that reality, it's not just like some kind of a pie in the sky belief, but to understand this, you can weather that storm. Because, the truth is that we do have Five of Cups times in our lives, And with the World card, it can feel like this major shift. An example is that Pluto is ending its 15-year cycle in your sign next year, okay? So even with the World card, I think about that on a global level, how, Pluto is really kind of coming on strong at the very end. And we're seeing like the ratcheting up of things. But if we were to look at just those events and, these very, these times are full of a lot of uncertainty and turmoil, and just like focus on that and not say, wow, this means that there's going to be a clearing. This is the clearing process, and we're going to get to that sun. It may not be, today or this week, but it's coming, and we know because it's intensifying. And that's what happens when you get a cold or a flu, is that you have that time where it really intensifies, and it seems like, oh my gosh, it's getting worse. But that is, what do they call that? I was going to say the eye of the storm, but I meant, for when you get the flu, it's called, I can't think of the term, but it's like the peak of it. And then, I've had times where then the next day I was like two or three times better. It wasn't even just gradually getting better. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just like bam, and that was it. So the Sun card is also about when things end, it makes room for new things to come in. And these could be way better than what you have. So let's say you lost your job. It could simply be saying that was meant to be. How many people find that a triggering statement and they say, oh my God, I think she's saying that I'm going to lose my job in March. Imagine, perish the thought. But you can't live in fear. And I'm not saying that would happen. I'm not saying that the grief represented by the Five of Cups is something like very traumatic. It can simply be like the World card, some facet of your life coming to an end, and you thinking that, you kind of overreacting to it maybe, and thinking that, thinking it means something other than what it means. And, it's like one thing that just keeps coming into my mind is the empty nest syndrome. When your your last child, goes off to college or just leaves the nest, and all of a sudden you feel this sense of emptiness, the sense of loss, and you could be feeling, wow, I have my freedom back. I have, this is great. But you see it, you perceive it as a loss. And of course, if you love your child and you enjoy being around your child, that's perfectly understandable. But what I'm saying is that you can see it as something positive, that there's a silver lining there. And that's kind of what those two cups represent. And the sun as well, because that's the higher message. What crosses you is the Seven of Pentacles. And this can be this idea of, in the upright, I'm reading it as a challenge, or in this case, a reversed card is the challenging interpretation. And in the upright position, it is the Farmer's card that relates to the like observation of energy that you've put into something and seeing if it's going to pay off. If the farmer has tilled the soil, planted the seeds, tended to the seedlings, and it's time for the harvest, and it is less than adequate, the farmer may, decide that what's happened is a failure, and maybe the farmer hasn't given it enough time. Maybe he's too impatient and is just expecting everything to just happen overnight. And so there's a danger of throwing in the towel about something. And that's another thing too. Maybe this is something that you're reacting to a change in your life in a way that is like overreacting, and you're just taking that, and in another area of life you're just kind of throwing in the towel too. That can also happen sometimes, and that's normal because a lot of times it's threatening, to have something come to an end that we've gotten used to. And so it can be tempting to think that everything is haywire. And so, if, like, for instance, there's another thing too, the world card can be travel. And if you have been feeling a sense of what we would call like obstacles in being able to travel for some reason, that can feel like it's always going to be that way, and you can't give up. You have to keep persevering and trying to make that happen, because this may be something that's very important to you, that you feel the need to do. And actually, it's funny that I got this card, because what's coming in is the Magician card, and it is about being resourceful. So not relying always on somebody else, and Capricorn isn't really like that. Capricorn is pretty, you're pretty much like probably the type that doesn't like to ask other people for help. But I'm really talking about outside authorities and things like that. Sometimes people think they can't do things unless they have the approval of an expert, or a somebody who's got a bunch of credentials. And you might feel like, how can I do this thing? I don't have, these credentials. And really, when we are doing different things that we do, we approach it in a different way. I am a self-taught astrologer. I don't know everything about astrology. I have not studied it on every, in every area. But I don't claim to. That's not my interest, is to be like the expert in every facet of astrology, because I feel like we resonate with something intuitively, and that's what we want to do with it. So what I do with it is going to be different than what somebody else does. And the same with the tarot. There are some people that are very connected to it psychically, and you can tell by the way that they're reading the cards is that they're not, sometimes they don't even read them the way they're supposed to, the interpretation is supposed to be. And if somebody, and I've read comments where people say, oh my God, that's not what that card means. And I just like shake my head and laugh, because it's like, well, that's somebody, you're more likely to get the literal translation from me, but big deal. That person can be very on point with some of their, the things that they're saying, for sure. Even if they're not going by the book. So that's the thing. The Magician is about being resourceful and being independent, taking what you have and making the most of it, starting where you are with what you have. And that, yeah, if this is like, if you are in a transition, Capricorn, and you're just kind of like in the doldrums because you lost your job and you think that's the end of everything. No, maybe the universe wants you to do something on your own and to co-create with the universe. The Magician is about that. And maybe you have spent too long taking orders instead of it's not even about giving orders. It's about stepping into your own power. And then we have this card, which is really indicative of that. The Queen of Swords as the outcome card. This is a card that is connected astrologically to Sagittarius. As I always say, I feel like it should be Leo, but those are both fire signs, and certainly with Wands, it is that fiery, independent, self-sufficient, creative influence. But the Queen represents the water element, and that is the intuitive and the nurturing. And I would say with the Queen of Wands in this position, nurture your dreams. Don't let your dreams die. You know, the Five of Cups is like the person who's mourning the death of someone, but they might be mourning the death of their dreams. Because you know what? It's almost like, I don't know, this just popped into my head, and I'm trying to honor my, or hone my intuition by, saying what comes into my mind, not analyzing it before I say it. What came into my mind is the person who gave their life to a company for, let's say, 30 years, and then they got the pink slip, or something happened where the job ended, the company went out of business, whatever, and they feel like they sacrificed for nothing. Of course, that's not true. Anything that you do has a purpose. So don't ever believe that, oh, what was the point of this? There was a point, but it can easily lead the person to say, I sacrificed all this time, these decades, when I could have been nurturing my own dreams. And this Queen of Wands is saying you can still nurture your own dreams. It's not too late. I would say, too, that, because the Queen is the mother, so that's where I get the nurturing part of this. And it's really about mothering yourself, like not being so hard on yourself like a lot of Capricorn people are. That like, oh, I should get a job right away. I shouldn't be like idle. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Don't shit all over yourself. Really tune into what you feel you need. Maybe you need, if you have the means, financial means to do so, maybe you need to take off 6 months and do nothing and just enjoy life. There's no guidebook. It might be for some people's benefit to just get any kind of little old job just to keep you in circulation if you're the type of person that feels like that is the best thing for you, not to be stagnant. And especially if it's part-time, you still can have time to dream and plan. So whatever works for you. But yes, definitely those last two cards are fire energies. And when I said the word fire, it was 1111. So there's your portal, okay? The Magician card is connected to Aries. And it's all about, with the fire, it's about creative self-expression. And what was very interesting is when someone, I think it was an astrologer, said that, entrepreneurs are creative. They are creating something, so they are creative. And I thought, wow, that's cool, because I always thought of creativity as simply, painting a picture or writing a poem. I didn't think that it could be, starting a business. So for those of you Capricorns who don't feel like you are creative in the classic sense of the word, there is this other possibility, and you certainly would excel in business. So, whatever. That's just part of what I wanted to say to you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, in case you couldn't tell, I'm primarily an astrologer. I do tarot because a lot of people like it, but also because it can give like a different vantage point that is more open-ended. And that is very compatible with this format of, these general readings. But the natal chart is so specific to you. So I do like natal chart interpretations along with transits, and that's like a 2-hour reading at a discounted price. It's called the deep dive reading. And if you've never had a natal chart interpretation, you might really enjoy that. And so I have other types of readings. You can check out the link below for that. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.